My name is Ethan Grant. I'm 32 years old. I used to be a systems security engineer working for a leading tech company that provided network infrastructure and data services for government agencies. I don't like noise. I'm not good at socializing. I'm only good at one thing: finding vulnerabilities, patching them, and staying silent. But that day, I discovered a flaw that couldn't be patched with code. Friday, 10:47 a.m. I was running the final test on the Civil Data Control System, a top-secret system deployed on government servers. A strange code snippet appeared in the response structure. This line wasn't in the original technical documentation. No comments, no standard encryption. It linked to a hidden API, one that could access citizen data without authentication, which meant anyone with that line of code could view every personal record from medical and financial info to GPS location and communication history, all stored in the system. I triple-checked. It wasn't random. It was code written intentionally, deliberately, and it was hidden with extreme care. I didn't know whether to call it a backdoor or a master key in the hands of someone with bad intentions. I printed the logs, encrypted the data, made an external backup in the system's secure vault, and I told no one. Until that afternoon, when I stepped into the CTO's office, Mr. Grant Wexler. "I need to file an urgent report," I said. "I found a backdoor structure in the government system." Grant was a man in his 50s, always in a crisp suit, face unreadable. He listened to my report in silence. No notes, no questions. Just sat there, fingers interlocked. When I finished, he simply said, "You are not to speak of this. Not to coworkers. Not to anyone outside. Not to anyone, period. Is that clear?" I nodded, but my heart felt anything but safe. I had followed the proper technical reporting process, but what I had discovered was no longer a software bug. It was a dangerous truth. And I had stepped into a game with no rules. 3 days later, I was fired. No warning, no explanation. The termination letter stated, "Severe violation of confidentiality policy, unauthorized access, and duplication of secure data." They deactivated my badge, locked my email, revoked remote access. They moved so fast I didn't even have time to grab my jacket from the locker. As I left the building, I carried only one thing, a small USB drive I had hidden in the inside pocket of my shirt. Something I shouldn't have taken, but couldn't leave behind. It contained the logs, access keys, the backdoor code, and the full edit history of when and how that code had been inserted. I didn't know if I was being reckless or razor sharp. All I knew was this: I had just walked out of one of the most tightly guarded buildings, and I was carrying the very thing they wanted buried. I returned to my apartment late in the afternoon. It was drizzling, not heavy, but enough to blur the windshield. I sat behind the wheel without turning on the engine, just stared at the gear shift. My hands were trembling slightly, not from fear, but because I knew I had just become a target. I opened my personal laptop, an independently encrypted system I built myself, used to store sensitive data throughout my 5 years in the field. I opened the logs, line by line. Still there, the strange access code, the reversed injection within the security framework, and the hidden comment inside the source code. $confirm nexus equals false //G, only used under G's directive. The letter GG equals Grant? Or was G an abbreviation for some shadow agency? I tried to access my old work email. All access had been revoked. Internal accounts locked. Shared folders wiped clean. Company servers' passwords changed. Everything scrubbed, as if I had never worked there. That night, I received a call from an unknown number. "Ethan?" A man's voice, calm, low, but firm. No name, no greeting. "What you found? Don't take it public. You don't understand what you've stumbled into. I gripped the phone tighter. Who is this? Grant? Is that you? Silence for a few seconds. Then the line went dead. No response, no trace. The next morning, I noticed scratch marks on the lock of my apartment door. I don't know who. I don't know when. But someone had tried to break in while I slept. I checked my drives. Nothing was taken. But it was clear this was a warning, not an attack. I texted an old friend, Ben, who used to work in cybersecurity for the government. I wrote only one line. If someone tried to sneak a backdoor into our civilian systems, what would you think? Ben called me back within 15 minutes. No jokes, no small talk. If you still have the logs, leave the city tonight. They won't just gag you with an NDA. I froze. In a private email, Ben sent me a leaked file. Project Circle Scope, a code name for a citizen surveillance program, secretly contracted between a private tech conglomerate and an unnamed government committee. In the margins, it read, "Establish covert channels for license-free surveillance. Prioritize cooperation with software vendors capable of deploying without leaving legal traces." At that moment, it clicked. I was no longer just a fired employee. I was someone who knew too much, and my former boss Grant didn't fire me to uphold company policy. He fired me to eliminate a loose end. That night, I didn't sleep. I closed all the blinds, turned off every light, and removed my phone's battery. I knew the devices I once trusted could now be someone else's ears. My computer was offline. Every operation took place on an external hard drive, double encrypted, hidden beneath a secret compartment in the wooden floor. I checked again. The data was still intact. The logs, the backdoor structure, the code tagged with G, and even internal emails I'd secretly extracted during my last system backup. Among them was a strange exchange between Grant and an unnamed address, labeled only as govsecurenode at ***dot. Net ***, Circle project has been inserted into build, 4.2 moving server to line D. Tonight, engineer Ethan G. needs to be removed from access control list before 1800 hours. GWW. I stared at the words, "Remove engineer Ethan G." and I smirked. Remove was no longer about termination. From now on, I was officially on the list to be eliminated. I packed everything into a small backpack, laptop, hard drive, a folding knife, a few sets of clothes, and a waterproof pouch with critical documents. Then I drove out of the city in the dark. Destination: a small beachside lodge I once stayed at as a student. No one knew about it. No cameras, no public Wi-Fi. I began my counterattack. Step 1. Leak the information anonymously. I opened Tor and accessed a forum known for data leaks. I didn't post anything publicly. Instead, I released a small excerpt, a few log lines with access keys and code structure under the title, "Circle Scope Exists. Backdoor Confirmed. More to come." Below it, I wrote, "If you want to talk, find me using key Ethan Fights back _412. Responses came faster than I expected. A user named Delta Mirror messaged, "I'm an investigative journalist. I've been chasing Circle Scope for 2 years, but lost funding. If what you have is real, I'll help bring it out the right way." I verified his identity through archived articles, metadata comparisons, and official journalist credentials. His name was Leo Danner, the one who exposed illegal surveillance by a major telecom company 3 years ago. Credible enough for me to take the risk. We agreed to meet at an old cafe in a town over 300 kilometers from the city. Leo arrived right on time. No phone, no electronic devices. "I've prepared a secure data relay chain," he said, "but I need a real sample first." His voice was low. Not curious, just worn out, like someone who had spent years chasing things too big to touch. I handed him a short log excerpt, small, but enough to validate. He read it. His eyes widened. Holy hell, it's real. And if I'm right, you're holding the full build with the active backdoor. This could burn down an entire congressional hearing. We didn't shake hands, didn't smile, didn't wish each other luck. We just nodded. I returned to the lodge and shut the door. That night, I began reconstructing the full timeline of Project Circle Scope. I opened the final log file and typed in one last line. You won't silence me, and I won't die quietly. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to a small sound, very faint like the soft step of a shoe on the concrete behind the guest house. I didn't turn on the lights. Holding my breath, I pulled the folding knife from my backpack and crept toward the window in the dark. Through the slit, I saw a figure dressed in black, wearing a hooded cap, crouched at the back door, working a lock with what looked like an electronic lockpick device. I had secured the door with a mechanical Yale lock, no smart systems. But that didn't stop him. I did the only thing I could. I pulled the window latch and triggered the manual alarm siren I had set up the night before. The piercing alarm shattered the silence. The man flinched and bolted. I didn't chase. I'm not stupid. I knew. This wasn't a petty theft. The next morning, I got a message from Leo, the investigative reporter. Someone followed me from the cafe. They wore suits, no ID, drove a car with no plates. Last night, my backup laptop got hacked. Luckily, I didn't store your files on it. At the same time, a headline appeared on a fringe news site. Fired engineer makes claims against system story possibly fabricated, accompanied by a photo of me cropped from my old company profile. The smear campaign had begun. They didn't need to kill me right away. They just needed to destroy my credibility. Because when a disgruntled ex-employee says something, no one believes him. I withdrew more cash, turned off my phone, moved through 3 bus terminals and 2 intercity rides. Eventually, I arrived at a rundown inn in Dalat small room. No Wi-Fi, no TV, no cameras. The only place I could trust right now was myself. Leo contacted me through an encrypted channel. I'm working with a group of international journalists. If we can confirm that the backdoor was used for unauthorized data collection, especially anything tied to politics, elections, or media manipulation, it could trigger a hearing. I sent him the core data file. But as the transfer finished, the connection dropped. And I got a system alert. Unexpected disconnect. Origin IP under scan. They'd found my location. I packed everything into a waterproof pouch and left the inn within 3 minutes. On the way out, I spotted a gray car parked 50 meters from the building. Inside was a man speaking into an earpiece. As I walked by, he glanced up at me through the rearview mirror. He didn't step out. But I knew. I had been marked. I hid inside an old auto repair shop for 6 hours. No one knew where I was. I brought nothing trackable. Just a USB drive containing the truth, and one decision. I had to release everything, all at once, to the right place, and make it irreversible. That night, I sent the entire data package to 3 major international media outlets using chained VPN relays and triple-layer encryption. Along with this message, my name is Ethan Grant. I am not a hacker. I am just a security engineer who saw too much. 3 a.m. My phone buzzed. Not a text, not a warning, but a news headline splashed across the front page of the Free Observer, one of the most respected independent investigative outlets in Europe. Breaking. Whistleblower leaks. Backdoor. Built into civilian surveillance infrastructure. Alleged involvement of US-based tech firm and government division, Nexus G. Below it, a screenshot of source code, technical documents, and excerpts from system logs containing the tag $confirm Nexus equals false. And beneath that, source verified. We've seen the entire dataset. It's real. Within 4 hours, major platforms picked up the story. Twitter exploded. Reddit pushed it to the top. The tag number circle scope leak became the hottest trend within 24 hours. My former employer, Helicis, issued a press release. The circulating information is false and fabricated, clearly intended to damage our reputation. But that very afternoon, another anonymous former employee spoke out. We were once told to deploy a build with a special structure for the surveillance system. No one was allowed to ask questions. Leo, the investigative reporter, called me through a secure signal. They're panicking. I just got word they're preparing an arrest warrant for me. Aiding unauthorized data access. But I've already gone live with 3 independent broadcast stations. There's no turning back. I asked him if he regretted it. He chuckled, voice choked. I've been chasing this for 2 years. All I needed was someone to pull the curtain. And you ripped it down so hard they couldn't react in time. That same evening, an emergency hearing was held in Congress. A special committee was formed to investigate allegations that several officials had secretly partnered with a private firm to surveil citizens without consent. In a heated session, one lawmaker shouted, "We cannot allow technology to become an invisible hand choking our people's freedoms. Who approved the Circle Scope project? And who is Nexus G?" The camera panned to the delegation area for corporate reps. Grant's seat, CTO of Helicis, was empty. 4 days later, official reports confirmed. Grant Wexler had left the country. No known destination, no formal charges. But everyone knew. He's running, and he has a reason to be afraid. Meanwhile, me? I no longer hid. Requests poured in. Interviews, podcasts, news panels. I turned them all down. I sent only a 36-second video to one paper. My name is Ethan Grant. I used to be a security engineer. I discovered a truth, and I chose not to stay silent. I'm not a hero. I'm just an ordinary man who chose to stand tall when they wanted me to bow. A week later, several governments announced audits of their internal surveillance systems. Congress drafted a bill to ban the use of covert control code in civilian infrastructures without transparent disclosure. One newspaper ran a photo of me, just a silhouette of a man walking across an empty bridge, backpack in hand, cap pulled low, face obscured. The caption read simply, "The one who chose to speak." It's been 3 months since the truth was exposed. No more being hunted, no more shadowy hackers, no more sleepless nights, no more footsteps trailing behind me in the dark. Just the sound of ocean waves each morning as I wake up in a small room by a quiet coastal town. Here, no one knows who I am, and I don't need them to. I turned down every speaking invitation, declined every award offered as some gesture of restorative justice. I don't need to be called a hero because I know the truth. I didn't do this to become famous. I did it because I couldn't bear the silence, not when I knew millions of people were being monitored, sorted, and controlled by the very system I once helped build. Grant, my former boss, was eventually located on an island nation with no extradition treaty. He didn't speak, didn't confess, didn't deny. There's only one clip of him sitting alone by the sea, reading a printed newspaper, possibly the one that exposed him. Leo, the investigative journalist, received a major international press award. But in his speech, he said just one sentence. "I wasn't the first to chase this story. I was just lucky to have a witness brave enough not to back down. I've started coding again, but not for the government. I built an open-source platform for the public, one that lets users see who's accessing their data every single time. I don't know where it'll go, but I do know this. I've started over. Not with an apology, but with clarity. People ask me, what was the scariest part of all this? Not being hunted, not being betrayed, but knowing that if I had stayed silent, I would have been safe. And that's exactly what makes silence the most terrifying weapon used by those in power. I remember the last time I looked in the mirror, right before I released the files to the world. I didn't see a hacker, didn't see a rebel. I just saw an ordinary person, facing a choice between conscience and comfort. I chose conscience, and though I paid the price, I have no regrets. The end? Maybe for me, but for the system, not even close. Somewhere out there, someone else is uncovering a new backdoor, a different conspiracy. And just like me, they're standing at a crossroads. If you're that person, remember this. No truth deserves to be buried out of fear. Truth doesn't need weapons, only someone willing to speak. One morning, I received a nameless package. Inside was a hard drive, with a red marker scrawl. Circle isn't dead, it just changed names. Gee, I held it in my hand and knew. The game isn't over.